with Mr. Andy Finch of Finch Filtration. We've just installed a new RO unit, which we've been speaking about for a few weeks, haven't we?
Yeah.
And beyond, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's been something that's been on my mind for this main pond for really the last 2 years, just given how variable the incoming water is. But do you want to introduce yourself for people that don't know who you are, what it is you do, and how you got into it?
Yeah, I've been doing it now for, well, probably 12, 15 years before I finished doing my normal job, and now I do this for a living. So probably 4 years.
Yeah.
Water purification, carbons, RO systems, anything to do with water, I do it.
Yeah.
So I build recycling units where you recycle pond water, everything to do with water really.
Yeah, and so if for anyone's like specific needs, you've got pretty much the product for them, depending on whether or not, like, one of the big things you taught me was different types of chlorine people can have.
Yeah, you've got chlorine and chloramine.
Yeah.
And there's different carbons to deal with different situations. So chlorine's chlorine, everybody's got chlorine.
Yeah.
If you're unlucky, you've got chloramine, which is chlorine and ammonia. So
Yeah.
that's the bond the two together, and it lasts longer in the pipework.
It's chlorine's bigger, badder brother, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, yeah, it is. Well, analogies to that, I did a talk at the Koi Club. So if you was to put 30 gallons of water into your pond containing chlorine, probably gas off after 24, 48 hours. If you put the same amount of water into your pond with chloramine in, it will stay in your pond for 3 weeks because there's nothing to break the bond.
Mm-hmm.
Once that bond's there, you need to split the bond, deal with the chlorine, and the ammonia element is
Hopefully it gets done
by
by filter.
Yeah.
But then if you've got a new pond and you're constantly adding in a trickle of ammonia,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot to consider. I mean, when I got into the hobby, and there'll be a lot of people watching this who probably think what we're doing here is a lot of overkill. That'll be one of the first comments on the bottom of this video. But one of the first thing people think is that if you've got clear water, that's healthy water, and that's not always necessarily the case, is it?
If I give you a jug of acid and it was clear, and I said to you, here, drink that, and you say, oh, it's clear, I can drink that, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
And it's the same with pond water, or tap water for that matter. It might look clear, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And chlorine can kill fish.
Mm-hmm.
We're only talking about 20 parts per billion is detrimental to koi.
Yeah.
So it'll ruin the gills, and a lot of things where people say, oh, well, I've just started my pond up and I've got new pond syndrome, and I've had it a year. Have you checked for chlorine?
Yeah.
Because what chlorine's designed to do is kill bacteria. So the chlorine's going into the pond, you're getting iron ammonia, it's converting to nitrite, and then you're back to square one because the chlorine's wiped out all your bacteria.
Yeah.
So it's just an ever going onward like progression until you get rid of the chlorine.
Yeah, and then you've got like more particular circumstances as well. Like we were speaking about someone up the road from here who seems to get chlorine dumps every Monday morning.
Yeah,
or is it
that was an issue he had, and I couldn't fathom it out. I went to his house. He's come to my house and checked my water, and I checked his tap water, and there's no chlorine in it, which is bizarre.
Yeah,
and
you'd expect a trace.
Well, yeah, if there was no chlorine in the tap water and everybody carried on drinking it, there'd be bacteria in there and we'd be all dead. You know, that's the sort of scenario it is.
Yeah.
But every Monday morning, if you've got no chlorine coming out of his filters, purifiers, or his tap water, how come on a Monday morning he got chlorine every Monday morning?
Yeah.
And it was without fail. It was on a Monday morning, every Monday morning. Mm-hmm. And I went backwards and forwards to his house, and we found out there was dosing at night, and it was probably at the weekends as well.
Yeah.
But the amounts of chlorine was indiscriminate. There was just massive levels.
Yeah.
So.
And what filter did he have on there for dealing with
when
it?
he first started, he had a 3-stage 10-inch purifier, like we've all had days gone by.
Yeah.
The problem is chlorine levels went up in COVID, and they're probably still double what there was pre-COVID. And those sort of things now are not really man enough for the situation we're in, with the massive levels of chlorine, metals, and everything else. So he said, well, what should we do? I put a big blue on. There's more carbon in that. Put the big blue on. Every Monday morning, he's testing his water coming out of the big blue. There was no chlorine, but there's chlorine in his pond.
Yeah.
So the massive levels what was coming through at night.
Was
think about this. So he's got a trickle in. We're all in bed, we're all asleep.
Yeah.
Where's the one open tap?
Yeah.
His pond.
The pond.
So that massive level of chlorine is all concentrated coming out of his tap because nobody else is using any water.
Yeah.
It's the only drain on the supply.
Yeah.
Okay, people go to the toilet and that, flush the toilet, but is there a constant trickle in this pond?
Yeah.
So we stop the trickle in, put a timer on, and it's time now. And the worst times of chlorine is probably 7 in the morning to about 9, breakfast time, 12 till about 2, and then you're looking at 4 till about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that's where you get chlorine fluctuations in the water supply.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
Absolutely
it is, honestly.
mental. And we're hearing tales all the time of different things that are happening around the country with the water companies. I mean, again, this is not criticising the water companies. I think we all can fall a bit in that bracket of saying this is crap water, but me and you say it all the time. They're not making the water for the fish in there, are they?
No.
They're making it for us and for
drinking water.
For drinking water.
And it's on a massive scale of volume of water that they're dealing with. And now when you look on a water report, it says aquatic life, fish, anything, you need to make provisions to remove chlorine because it's dangerous to fish. So that being said, it's something we've got to deal with, and we've just got to move with the times.
Yeah. But like for me, and the reason we've come onto this, so one of the first things that happened this year was that I'd noticed from my trickle in that the pond, the pH had risen, and I thought maybe exposure to sunlight as we're coming out, because I had the pond balls on over winter, which obviously repels sunlight, so took those off, sunlight was back on the pond, my pH went high. So I think it was about 8.5 at the time. I thought, oh, that's a lot higher than it usually is. It's usually about 7.8, something around there. So I tested the pH out of my tap at 7.3.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I increased my trickle in, thinking that'll just gradually bring down my pH slightly. And
what did I say to you at the time?
Yeah.
Put some water in a bucket and leave it overnight, and then test it the following day. And what did you find?
Well, that's what essentially I came back a couple of days and looked at the fish, and they were all grouped in a corner and all mucused up, veiny, everything. And so I checked. I did what you told me. Check that. My pH from the water out of the tap at 7.5 after 24 hours is about 9.3 to 9.5. Just stood, not aerated, not in the sun, just in the dark in a bucket, not moving.
Yeah.
And I can't run a koi pond with that.
No.
Like it's not feasible. Yet there'll be people saying, well, just don't trickle in and out. And that's the question that a lot of people have is, you know, how much clean water do you need, especially when you're feeding fish to a high level? You need to dilute some toxins out. So we've got ammonia nitrite, which is dealt with by the filters. Byproduct of that is nitrate. Mm-hmm. But you still want to dilute everything else out. So pheromones, hormones, and whatever. So the old school used to be 5% water change. I know people don't change water, but 5% was the old school. Probably 10% now. But I agree with some people who say, well, why do you want to have a trickle in, or why do you want to change pond water? Well, if you've got rubbish water in your tap, why would you want to put the junk in your pond all the time? You need to get rid of that junk out the water before it goes in a pond, because it'll affect the fish. Yeah.
And going back to your pH, what people don't realise, if you go on Sid Mitchell's website and look at ammonia, there's a pH graph on there. And ammonia is more toxic at a higher pH. Mm-hmm. So what fish can tolerate at a pH of 7, whatever the figure is, it's a massive figure, to what they can tolerate at a pH of 9 is absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So that you know, it's got a massive bearing on what's going on. And okay, there's people all around the country, and my tap water is 8.4. Mm-hmm. It's terrible water. It's 460 parts per million TDS. Okay, you can keep fishing that.
Yeah.
Anybody can keep fishing that, but then it's coming back to another level. What do you want to keep? Do you want to just keep pond fish, or are you on another level where you're buying other fishing you want to show or whatever, you know, it's all down really to looking after these.
Yeah.
And they are hybrid creatures at the end of the day.
I mean, I went to Japan and spent a lot of money on some of these fish, and I shown them last year and did quite well. And then coming into this year, this was meant to be the year that I grow them all on and really develop them.
Yeah.
And what's happened is some of them just have irreversible damage, essentially from that pH. I mean, volcano, I don't know what the word is for it, but just going through the roof. You know, what people also don't understand is when you've got fluctuating pH, it's not good for the fish's immune system, it's not good for the, you know, I was speaking to Paula Reynolds, like it alters their blood. I can't remember what the term is for it, but it alters the blood chemistry and all sorts. And also the other thing is it's constantly opening the door for parasites as well, with all the stress from it.
Not the other byproduct of that as well. If there's a high level of metals, so you're talking aluminium, copper, lead, zinc, iron. Aluminium and copper are the lowest sort of levels. It's 15 parts per billion. And if it's over that, it affects the immune system, and it makes them lethargic. People ring me up and say, "Oh, my fish don't eat." Well, you know, it's probably a lot of metals.
Yeah.
But the down product of this is the immune system. So if the immune system's compromised, you'll get costier.
Yeah.
And it's like a rotating cycle. You'll sort out the costier, you'll get flukes. Sort out the flukes, you get back costier. And this sort of rolls round and rolls round. But the byproduct of all this probably is the water at the start. Okay, it might be some of the products that you're using, but there's something in the water that's affecting the fish.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, yeah, I've tackled with that all my life. You know, I've just tried kind of leaving them as well this year, and just feeding them and just trying to see if they can create their own immunity. You know, I'm literally at the wit's end with it. I've tried every single fluke treatment under the sun. Fluke has been the big one for me. I've never really suffered with anything else other than white spot off the back of the pH problem, which is a stress-related parasite. You know, but coming into this, we have also tested my water last year, and I did have copper in the water as well, which is another thing to consider. And that's kind of where the stage, and the last part as well is for this RO system that we're discussing, is my hardness as well, which is I mean, we've been laughing today at the backy shower, all the calcium that's on the pipe and all. It's just unbelievably hard, isn't it? And in my house I can tell that as well. Weirdly enough, it was something that was drawn to my attention. Is my wife suffers with rosacea, and hard water supposedly flares up anyone with sensitive skin, and they get all kind of like, it's supposed to be really detrimental for sensitive skin human beings as well. But my TDS is around 450. My GH, little drop test you get in the NT Labs kit, took 26 drops for that. It's just not